Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the various ways in which you can begin to get a little bit more independence in your lives. Now, if you are a young person who is going through that transitiony phase of childhood into teenagerish years, or maybe you're just coming to a stage where you feel like there is more stuff that you should, could, and ideally would be allowed to do on your own without perhaps your parents' intervention and oversight, but you don't feel as if you are quite being given that freedom and flexibility that you desire, then make sure you keep on watching. So step one in gaining more freedom and independence in your life is that you first need to be consistent, and that's probably going to need to be over a period of time longer than a day. Probably longer than a week, let's be honest. Now, here's what I mean by consistent. You need to be consistently mature. You need to show up in front of your parent as someone who has kind of, developed the mindset and skills of someone who should be allowed out into the big wide world by yourself. Because the challenge that you've got is that your parent or carer remembers the day when you did a wee on the carpet. They remember the day that you drank all the cowpole and was stoned for 2 days. They remember the time when you drew on the newly painted walls using marker pen. They remember when you did those crazy childish things. Now, those things weren't bad as such. I mean, they weren't ideal necessarily, but they're just the sorts of things that children do. And if you want to be trusted with the freedom and independence that you now want, you need to make sure that none of those sorts of things are kind of creeping in. Because sometimes you're in two worlds simultaneously. You're kind of wanting to get into the more grown-up side of things, but there's also parts of you that still wants to be a child at times as well. If you are looking for the freedom and independence that you desire to maybe let your parent or carer let go of the reins a little bit and to let you do more things by yourself, then you're going to need to consistently appear to them as someone who can handle the big wide world and isn't going to end up doing a wee on the carpet, drawing on the walls, or drinking a bottle of cowpole. The second important thing for you to do is to negotiate. You can't go in expecting all of your demands to be met, especially the first time around. You're going to need to be flexible and accept that some things you are not going to get exactly what you want. But if you get past of them, then you've made progress. Don't go screwing up the progress by demanding more when there is no chance that you're going to get it. So, for example, let's say that you wanted to go to a party at your friend's house and your parents said yes, great, but they requested that you were home by 11:30. Don't then start an argument about the fact that you have to come home at 11:30, because if you upset them, they might say, fine, you're not going at all. And you just went from not going to the party to being able to go to the party to not being able to go to the party again. Negotiation is when you accept that you're not going to get all of what you want, but hopefully you get a significant enough proportion of it that it's still worthwhile. So a better solution would be to take the 11:30 option that they've offered you, so that way you go from not going to the party to going to the party but coming home early. When you've come home early, you then are proving to them that you can stick to the rules. And that means that next time around, you might be able to extend the boundary a little bit further. And that takes me on to point number 3, which is you must be reliable. If you start to become flaky and your parent begins to distrust your word, so going back to the party example, you don't show up until 1:30, then that's going to cause your parent or carer to worry unnecessarily and maybe start to believe that you're not trustworthy enough and therefore mature enough to take on these sorts of responsible decisions in the future. And you could end up scuppering your chances of gaining more freedom and independence going forward. It's really important that they learn to trust you, and to do that, you need to start proving yourself to be a reliable person. Then you can start to, once again, stretch the boundaries a little bit further as you move along the line. But make sure that you prove yourself to be a trustworthy person over time by behaving in a consistently desirable way. and that will ensure that they trust you for going forward and making even bigger and more independent growing decisions. So I hope that this video has given you some ideas about how to manage your parents and carers in the quest to become more free and independent in your lives. If you like this video, go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and also be sure to click the little notifications bell so that you get notified the next time I upload a video to this channel. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!